welcome to the 19th show of Touring Texas Songwriters with our host, the long tall Texan, Mr. Bruno Michel. Today's show features the incredible voice and songs of Jolie Goodnight and is brought to you by the Barrel Brewing Company and the citizens of historic Salado, Texas. Jolie Goodnight was recorded live in front of a studio audience for broadcast on Country Radio Switzerland. Sit back, relax, and listen to the sensational performance of Jolie Goodnight.
All right, like so many other artists, this lady had to find her own personal way into show business because she's a kid of well-known parents. And her mother's Kimmie Rhodes, that some people of you may know, and her dad was Joe Gracey, the songwriter, famous songwriter here. People say that her voice could actually make a stone melt. Not sure if we're going to experience that. Any stones around here? And as a kid, she used to sleep in guitar cases on stage. She knows pretty much every bloody stage in Texas, I guess, by heart, in any honky-tonk. So I assume she has a more comfortable bed to lay her head on today. Welcome, Jolie Goodnight, and her friends right here.
Thank you. I do have a more comfortable bed, but I'm still pretty partial to a guitar case. There's nothing in the world quite like when somebody cracks one open and you kind of, there's a smell to a guitar case that is partial to it, and that feel of all that purple stuff on the inside is, I have a bed, but because I have to, I guess.
Every now and then you sleep in a case. All right, let's start with a song, I guess.
Okay, great. Well, if you don't mind, I'd love to tell you a little bit about this song. The song I wrote is called The Alchemist, and I wrote it when I was out on tour, out in the desert, out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, looking at all the cacti and the hummingbirds, and I see y'all have a hummingbird here in this toy box of a room, and I'd lost a lot. I'd lost my husband. I'm a little young to have lost my husband, but I have. And throughout that year, I was sitting there in the desert realizing that even though I had lost him, I had never had to be really completely alone, that people had taken care of me along the way, that really cool shows arrived at me, that all these musical opportunities. And so I started thinking about my late husband and my daddy, who's also gone, and I thought, wow, they're more like alchemists, I think, when they leave, that they kind of turn silver into gold. And they're, we think of them as guardian angels, but I thought maybe they're even cooler than that. So, this song's on the record, and it's called The Alchemist.
Here we go.
Too quiet, I'll send whippoorwills to sing. And if it sounds too far away, I'll add feathers to its wings. You'll never be without a song, leave the music to me, baby, fly on. Money, ticket, passport, you got suitcases to pack, and I'll be there to set you straight if your train runs off the track. Well, home is where the heartache is, and you're never turning back, baby, get gone. No, you're never alone. I'm turning silver into gold through the orchards and the desert, under blue skies and stormy weather. I'm making diamonds from the coal. Shine, baby, shine on. No, you're never alone. I'm turning silver into gold through the orchard
All right. So I've interviewed a lot of prominent kids, prominent parents, obviously, from Roseanne Cash to Pam Tillis and others, and they all kind of found their independent way to their career. So how did you find yours?
Yeah, it's funny because whenever I was a kid, people would always ask if I was going to be in showbiz like my parents. And if I said yes, the answer was, ooh, that's going to be tough. Are you sure? And if I said no, the answer was, oh, man, you're not going to be like your parents. And so it was never a very positive answer. It's so funny. And a lot of us showbiz kids have that same sensation. So I would always say, yes, I'm going to be in showbiz, but I'm also going to be a private detective. Or, yes, I'm going to be a singer, but I also intend to be a lawyer. Or, I would just kind of come up with whatever other thing I decided I was going to be that day. And then when it came to actually choosing what I wanted to do for going to school, I thought, no, I'm not going to be a singer. I'm going to be an actress. And so in my mind, I thought I was really departing, which I wasn't. But I started to go to school for theater, and then I got terrified. I got really scared that I was never going to be put on stages, and I was, never going to make it on Broadway, and it just wasn't going to happen for me. So I got terrified, got a French degree that I don't use, and then immediately started a band in jazz. So, at the end of the day, it's your family trade, and it's hard to get away from when it's what your soul wants and what your heart wants and what your head wants and what God made you for and all that. So my way of actually finding my own way was that I started, instead of in country and rockabilly and that sort of umbrella, is I went towards jazz. So I have a jazz record out as well, and just went that way for a little while to figure out who I was and what I sound like, and get my identity. And then as jazz kind of disappeared in Austin a little bit, I mean, there's a little bit here and there, but it's mostly not around, I thought, well, okay, I've stepped in it, so I have to survive. What am I going to do next? And then this little voice, suddenly Jackalopes made a lot of sense. So I came back to ultimately my parents and my heritage and my legacy, but I did do it kind of a roundabout, weird little way to get there,
You also did a lot of blues stuff, right?
And I did a lot of blues. I love dirty blues. I don't know how many folks know some of those old, from the turn of the century, wrong century, turn of the other century, kind of those dirty innuendo songs like I Want a Hot Dog for My Roll, or Sugar in My Bowl, or My Daddy Rocks Me. And I just think those songs are so cool, and especially because they were mostly done by women. So women were it's the 1920s, and they're unafraid to be the beings that they were and say what they wanted to say. And so yeah, a lot of blues, but kind of under the a little bit of a jazz aesthetic is how I always approached it.
More in the blues way of like Blind Lemon Jefferson, people like that.
Yeah. Well, and also because I grew up in kind of a gospel church, part of the way I sing is somewhere between blues and jazz anyway, generally. So yeah, I can't help but have the blues. I can't,
Now, can you remember when you wrote your first song and what it was about?
I don't remember when I wrote my first song, but because I was just always improvising them all the time, there is a home video of me at my grandmother's house singing a song that makes no sense, but the lyric is, "The sky is falling back." And I don't know what that means, but that's the only first song I remember, and I don't know, maybe it was like a reference to, what's the story about the little duck who's scared about the Chicken Little? I mean, maybe it's a Chicken Little inspired song, I don't know. But, it's funny because having a mom who is a hit songwriter, Mama is Kimmie Rhodes, and she's written so many incredible songs with people, for herself. Songwriting was always really intimidating for me, really. That's the thing I am probably the scared of the most in the world.
Not a thing where you need to distinguish kind of.
Yeah.
In order not to be compared right away. Yeah.
Right, you don't want to be compared and then lose. You want to be compared and make your parents really proud. And also my writing style's pretty different from Mama's, and I didn't realize that until the first time I played a song for her, and she sat there, and I was really scared, and then she goes, God, you write just like your daddy.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah. Wait, is that a bad thing? I don't know. I felt so many different ways. But, she also taught me that you have to be brave and stupid to be in showbiz. And so scared or not, I really started writing my own songs, not doing jazz covers, not doing blues covers, when I started Jolie and the Jackalopes. I'd always written my own songs as a teenager, but they were dramatic and teenagery, But when I really started writing and showing people my songs is when I started Jolie and the Jackalopes. Right. And they were like, okay, well, these covers are cool, man, but when are you going to show us your songs? And they helped me be brave enough and stupid enough to go ahead and do that.
Okay, cool. Let's play another one.
Okay. This song I wrote, it's called Maybe It's Wrong, and another piece of Kimmie Rhodes' wisdom. She always would tell me, like, especially when I got into middle school and kids were getting into a little bit of trouble and stuff, she'd say, Jolie, if it isn't right, it's probably wrong. And then whenever as I got older and I started trying to figure out kind of my way through my own world and figure out what was right for me actually career-wise, because I had worked really hard on jazz. I had worked so hard, and I just kept throwing that spaghetti at the wall to see if it would stick, and every time I'd get a big opportunity, something major would happen and it would go away. And I was just starting to go, well, maybe I ought to stop throwing the spaghetti at the wall and try something else. And I was also kind of in that world, jazz is great and everything, but the players don't really like singers that much. Yeah. They want to just play bebop 60s stuff, and they prefer singers kind of get out of the way. And so I just didn't feel like I was in a place where I belonged. And then I went to the first Ameripolitans here in Austin, Texas, and Dale Watson has been one of my biggest champions. Also, I will say that. Yeah, Dale Watson has been so supportive of me. He was the first person to put me on stage after my husband passed, and he did it with full trust. He just has always been so great. So he was like, "Well, let's get you a pass. Let's take you to the Ameripolitans. Why don't you come see what's up here?" And I walked in. And into a world that I didn't know I belonged in yet. And all of a sudden, Ray Benson comes and taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Are you Joe and Kimmie's daughter? Oh, my God, I used to be your dad's roommate." And, Ray Benson, if you've ever spent any time with him, he just is flooded with stories. Like, everything just comes pouring out of that man. And I thought, okay, I'm in the right place. I made the right choice to move into country where I do belong and where I'm loved and where I have a history and all that. And I had a great, amazing night. And then I wrote this song about just, at some point, path of least resistance, man. Like, just go where you're supposed to be and quit hitting walls, What's the saying, if we're somewhere God closes a door, he opens a window, or in my case, I just feel like he closed a door and then like opened a terrace or something. I feel like an entire world has opened up to me that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So, maybe it's wrong.
Going together.
1, 2, 3.
I'm going in circles, around and around. I'm not lost, so I can't be found. Only change can change me, like rivers and streams, waiting to break free of levees and daydreams.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure if you guys realized every time a question is answered before it's asked, it's mostly by women. She just did so before that song. Because the next one is actually that you wrote songs like Drunk on Lonesome. And that was the point where your mom said that you actually write like your dad.
Yeah.
So tell us a little more about the song itself.
Yeah. So this song is not my proudest moment.
It's a pretty good song.
Yeah, actually, that's okay. I'll write that and I'll give you 10% of 18 cents. So, but yeah, I had a bad habit of dating musicians when I was in college in the dating world, even though everybody teaches you not to do that. And sorry, I love y'all. But and it's funny because actually now I am dating a drummer. But oh man, Jolie. But I was younger and stupider, and so were they. So it's different now. But anyway, I'd broken up with this guy, and then fast forward about 9 months later, and I'm somehow in that same guy's front yard. I don't know how, party or something. And my current boyfriend broke up with me in my ex-boyfriend's front yard. And I thought, I have to start making different choices. Because, and actually the guy is really great and talented. And I have nothing really bad to say about the man. He's a fine American. It's just what happens when you're young and goofy. But what made me really want to write this song was he was supposed to pick me up, and I waited for him in this parking lot of this apartment complex, and the man never showed up. And I waited, and that was before you always had your cell phone on you, and I just thought, well, I don't know who to call or what to do, and I'm just waiting in this parking lot for a dude who's cheating on me. And then, he came, or somebody else came, picked me up, and then he starts apologizing to me the next day. Well, somebody had told him bring her flowers. So what he did, and this is how you know, ladies, you're with the wrong one, is he reached out to one of those like a bush that had a bunch of flowers on it, and kind of picked that up and then put it in his pocket. So when he came to apologize to me, he pulled it out of his pocket and all the flowers fell off, because flowers don't stay on a bush, and so he just handed me a twig, and I went, okay, this is not going to work out, but it makes for a really good song. So this, I'm grateful to him because he gave me a really good drinking song.
Then there was at least about 5 songs and stories, 4 songs in this explanation, I think.
Yeah.
Because, the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend and stuff like that, so a whole bunch of songs.
It's a lot. It's country all wrapped into one thing. But it is not normal to receive flowers out of a pocket.
Not really.
Like, poor baby.
From
he
the
didn't
bush,
know.
it would be romantic.
But he didn't know. I hope whoever he's with now, maybe he's learned to just like go buy some roses or something.
Right. All right. Let's hear that one then.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I waited for you in that parking lot. Stared at the pavement, at the cracks where the grass gets caught. I waited for you beneath the stars, counting minutes, broken headlights on passing cars. I'm drunk on wrecked and reckless, down and out and careless. I'm hung hopes up, and I'm faded on no love, and I'm wasted on, tired of, I'm drunk on lonesome. Go to the verse. I'll let them take me to the top of the hillside to see the city and all its neon and its bright lights. From up here, I finally understand. You're not my true love, you're just another man. I'm drunk on sadness, tore up and legless. I'm wrecked and reckless, down and out and careless. I'm hung hopes up, and I'm faded on no love, and I'm wasted on, tired of, I'm drunk on lonesome, and I'm wasted on, tired of, I'm drunk on lonesome. Ooh. Thanks, y'all.
Now, when you write, is it always about your personal experiences, or is it sometimes just the creation of your creative brain? Or
Yeah, it's both. I do like sometimes to go get into somebody else's shoes for a little while, especially because I was acting for such a long time, and I like playing characters, and villains especially are kind of one of my favorite things to do. So yeah, every once in a while I'll find a song and or find an idea and write a song just based on somebody who probably needs it, somebody who probably needs to hear that or need to feel that, or especially because, you know, I don't ever want to be too self-serving in my songwriting. And I think that's a trap that maybe other people who grew up like me in showbiz get into. Not necessarily my kind of generation, but maybe the one before it. I would always get kind of disappointed because I'd hear their songs and they had a famous mom or dad, and a lot of times they'd just write about songs including their parents in them, and I just thought, well, man, not everybody can relate to that. Not everybody had, you know, the Haggards and the Nelsons and the Jennings of the world as their parents, and so I always wanted to try to write from a very we the people, you know, point of view as much as I can. Now, a lot of the record that we just put out First Time Again, a lot of that is coming from my own personal experience, just because they're some of the first songs that I wrote. And first, you got to try to write what you know. I think I'm a big believer in that. And also, I went through so much. You know, I lost my grandmother, who I talked to every day. I lost my daddy, who was my best friend, and I lost my husband, which also meant I lost the roof over my head and most of my things. He was a bandmate. He was in the Jackalopes with us. So, you know, I lost my biggest fan. So the record is really personal. But that's just because, you know, life got a little personal, right. I think, you know.
All right. Well, let's play another song, I guess.
Okay. So, yeah, this next one actually is one that I wrote from my point of view, but I think a lot of people can feel me on it. I had decided that I was never, ever, ever going to fall in love again. That I had done that. I had been through too much. I was going to marry my career. And I also had a really strange thing happen, and this is probably very particular to people who have lost their spouse, or maybe after divorces, where there are some opportunistic beasts out there. There are some people who immediately try to snatch you up, and it doesn't feel very good, and you're kind of going, hey man, I'm still grieving here. So I just decided, enough with that. I'm gonna marry the dust motes that arrive at me from those. When you stand on stage and you look at the lights, there you can see all this dust that arrives at you, and so I had this moment at one night backstage where I was telling the gals that I was performing with that I was never gonna fall in love again. That was that. I was very grateful to have had my marriage, but I'm done now. Thank you. And that I wanted to actually have a ceremony. This sounds so crazy. Where I just married the dust motes that arrive at me. I was going to put on a wedding dress and everything and just marry those, and that would be that. And then it was wild, because that very night then I was on stage, and we were taking a big group photo, because there was also a band there called the Del Vipers. They're a really great surf band in Austin, and they've been around for like 12 years or something. They've been at it a while, but somehow I'd just never run into them before. And at the end of the show, we went to take our bows, and I had just been saying how I'd never fall in love again, and right in between me and those dust motes was a man standing there. And I looked at him, and what actually almost came out of my mouth was, "Oh, there you are." I don't even know why, love is a funny thing, but I fell immediately in love with the guy. And then I said to myself, "Oh no, I don't have time for you. I'm about to go on tour. I have songs to write. I have dust motes to marry. I don't have time for you, and I'm not doing this." And then he was smart enough to, kind of not court me, but just become my friend, which is what I really needed. And, fast forward, we're madly in love, happy, really, really, really great. And he says, "I can't wait to see you perform for the first time." Well, we met when I was performing. So he said, "I can't wait to see you perform for the first time again." And I thought, that's kind of how it is with our soulmates, isn't it? We know that we've already seen each other before. We know that we'll see each other again. And I just thought that was a lovely thought, that you could see somebody for the first time again. So, This is my little love song that I get a little silly about, because, I just never thought I'd get to do this again.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go.
I can't believe you feel this way after all that we've been through. Take a look around, my dear. All of this in heaven too. is to know you, to feel you, is to love you. I can't wait, oh, for the first time again, to see you for the first time again. Oh, for the first time again, for the first time again. Thank you.
Now, you once said that you have a legacy to carry on.
Yes.
And how do you plan to do that and at the same time continue to establish your independent career?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, so I'll just tackle it one half at a time. The legacy, so my daddy, Joe Gracey, just to give a little backstory on him, he was a DJ at Coke FM in the 70s with Candy Kicker and all those guys. And he also was the first talent scout for Austin City Limits. So all those early Austin moments that had Freddie Fender and Doug Somm and Flaco Jimenez and all those local favorites and Texas favorites, Daddy was responsible for putting on air. And let's see, he also, he emceed a lot of cool moments that were happening. He would do a lot of Armadillo World Headquarters stuff, and he was that guy in Austin, and Rolling Stone magazine named him the godfather of progressive country. Because he was putting people on air and on the radio that nobody else would play. I mean, even Willie has always said that there's a lot of love from my dad, because Daddy would play Willie when nobody else would. When Nashville didn't know what to do with him, my daddy did. And so in 78, he got cancer of the tongue. It was alcohol and tobacco related. And, they tried to kind of parcel little bits of it as they could, and it just wasn't working, so he was going to have a full tracheotomy. And that meant at that time that he lost his entire voice. So I can't remember who it was that said it, but somebody pointed out, it might have been Rodney Crowell, I'm not sure, but somebody pointed out the irony was that the voice of music in Austin and the voice of progressive country lost its voice at the time of its Great Awakening. And so then, Daddy went on to do a lot of things. Cowboy Jack Clement, who was the engineer at Sun Studios, said, well, I guess we're not going to turn you into a country star, Joe Gracey, because Daddy was also writing and singing songs at the time. But he said, how about I teach you how to be a producer and an engineer? So Daddy's mentor was Cowboy Jack Clement, which is just, he's a god in the country and rock and roll world. And so Daddy went on to do a lot of things, but he did them, not to put it plainly, he did them quietly. So as a little girl, I grew up not knowing what a hoss my dad was. I didn't know that he changed music forever. I didn't know that he was one of the most eminent figures in Austin at the time. I didn't know that he produced Stevie Ray Vaughan's first stuff. And a lot of people have a Joe Gracey story where they'll say, Jesse Dayton even the other day was like, yeah, I have a Joe Gracey story about I moved from Houston, I believe it was. He had his guitar in hand. He gets off the bus, and my daddy's standing there, and I guess Jesse was trying to figure out where he was going, and Gracey said, what are you doing? He's like, I just moved here from Houston and trying to figure out what my next move is. And Dad said, well, you got to make a demo, don't you? And so he just immediately took him from the street and into the studio and did his first stuff in Austin. But I didn't know that. He was just my dad, and he was so quiet about his accomplishments that I just had no idea. So when he passed away and we had it at Austin City Limits, I was shocked when it was like 900 people showed up or something, and everybody had Joe Gracey stories. And that's when it really hit me. I have a legacy that I have to carry on. And so I scoured through every single one of his things. I scoured through down to the last toothpick, down to the last little scrap of paper. I found a napkin where Stevie Ray Vaughan had drawn a monkey and put portrait of Bobby Earl Smith, which was one of the Jackalopes at the time when it was the Jackalope Brothers. And I found one file folder in a filing cabinet. I pulled open this filing cabinet because I knew it was a lot of the recording that Daddy had done. And I saw the Stevie name on it and went, ooh, I'm opening that one first. And I open up this manila folder, and all of a sudden white stuff goes everywhere. And I have wiener dogs, and I was like, oh my God, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan's vintage cocaine, and my dogs are about to sniff it all up. So I'm like trying to herd wiener dogs, and I'm trying to scoop up Stevie's vintage coke and put it back, and like I'm like, well, what do you do with this, you know? And then I look at the budget for the recording that they did, and this is just how irreverent jackalopes are. The budget is my favorite. The budget for that recording that they did with Stevie has, the typical things, the hotel, the gas, because they were doing it back and forth between Nashville and Austin at the time, food, drugs. Like, they actually wrote that. They were trying to write it off to the tax man. And...
I didn't say illegal drugs.
Yeah, just the drugs. Yeah, I guess they could have meant... Quaaludes or something. What all the housewives were taking or whatever at the time.
Children's aspirin.
Yeah, children's aspirin. See, you're jackaloping already. Y'all, this is our newest jackalope. This is Sean Shirazi over here. I see you already. I like hearing you make up excuses for why you could write off drugs to the tax man. Let's remember it. But anyway, it's just stuff like that then I went through all of it and got it ready for what was to come next, which was the Country Music Hall of Fame came and said, we'd like to have all of your dad's things. And they decided to do an exhibit that's still going on right now, and it will for about another year and a half, I believe, called Outlaws and Armadillos. And it's all about music in Austin at that time and everything that they accomplished and how they all together really changed music as we know it today, especially in country. But it's the first time that rock and roll and country became best friends, and hippies and rednecks became best friends. And you could go from swimming in Barton Springs directly to the stage if you wanted to in your cutoffs, and nobody cared, So it was a pretty magical, cool time. And when the Country Music Hall of Fame came and they wanted all of his things, that's when it sort of snapped. It sort of occurred to me that I had a legacy to carry on, but I wanted to do it in my own way. I wanted to jackalope, which means like messing around and having fun, because we're in the fun business. So if we're not having fun, we're not doing our jobs. And so carry that on, but also write my own songs, do some of their songs, and at the end of the day, I'm Kimmie Rhodes and Joe Gracey's daughter, so they're always going to be in there somewhere. And I think that's the way you accept your identity, is instead of fighting against it, go, well, yeah, I'm made up of those two, so I can't help it. Well, I'll just keep on keeping on then, So my way to answer the second part of that question, to forge my own path, is to keep being creative and keep being authentic to myself and listen to the people around me who are so supportive and believe in my weird, crazy ideas, and just accept that I'm a jackalope. That's all there is to it.
Now, these days, it's probably a good idea that you forget about all what you just said and you move to Nashville and you do what the marketing guys over there tell you, get rich, get famous, make $1 million in 2 weeks because you sell 2 million records or whatever in the first day. Knowing all that and having this legacy, what does traditional country music mean to you, apart from your parents now that actually everybody in Nashville is throwing it out?
Yeah. Well, that's funny that you say that you moving to Nashville and getting the record deal and everything, because I very recently had a meeting there, and it was one of the old timers at one of the big old companies, and his response was, "This is odd because I'm a white girl, but I'm not white enough for Nashville, and I'm not skinny enough for Nashville." And I thought, well, yeah, this is one enchilada and that's the other. I don't care. I'd rather eat enchiladas all day than worry about how blonde my hair isn't and what my jeans look like. I don't care. I just want to write songs. So, I love Nashville at its core there. The songwriters are unbelievable, and they're my family. You know, my songwriting dad, not my real dad, but my songwriting dad, Gary Nicholson, lives there, and I have had a lot of support and love there. And so the town itself is fine. There's just a lot of systemic nonsense.
Exactly.
And I think we have a problem because a lot of those companies are owned by, like, Evian. Like, what does a water businessman know about a song? You know, he knows how to keep you hydrated, or he knows how to make you spend money on something to keep you hydrated when you could have just turned on the faucet.
Right.
So I think the way to keep classic country alive is to just be like the Outlaws and go where the people are, because the people want real music. Like, we learned that with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You know, when that record came out and it was huge, everybody went, oh, you mean real music can win? And I think it happened again when Chris Stapleton won all that slew of awards at the CMAs that year. I actually was at the Country Music Hall of Fame when that happened. And I went in the elevator, and people were still in tears because they were so happy to see that real music won.
Finally, a real guy winning.
And so I think how we keep classic country alive is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word on the air, but by not giving a, you know, I think I just want to be an outlaw, or an actual outlaw in that way, and just be unconcerned with them, because how it always works is that when it comes to Nashville and business companies and and record companies, is because they don't know what cool is. They look at what all the cool people are doing and copy it. So for me, the only thing I can do is just keep being cool and keep making awesome stuff happen and be real and carry on the legacy. And at some point, that same guy is going to look at me and go, okay, you're white enough. You know, at some point that guy's going to get really desperate for my kind of music, because they just latch on to cool.
Right.
So I'm not worried about classic country will always be here.
Good. Yeah, we're getting desperate too. Play another song.
All right. Yes. Actually, yeah. So the next song is one that my daddy wrote. I wanted to do a Joe Gracey song, and this is the perfect timing for it. This is one that he wrote. I just found this out by my uncle. My uncle said that right before he went in for the surgery to lose his voice for the rest of his life, he went in and recorded a record. And this is my favorite song on that record.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
That first night we met, I knew you probably felt it too. So I tried my best to stay away from you. But this woman's need can get real serious real quick. But I'm deep in love Thank you.
Good stuff. Now, your album, Say Goodnight, Gracey, I think was your debut, came out in 2011, and then your latest came out just recently, I think in November. What's in the future? What are the plans for any future projects, be it now new albums, and some other work?
Yeah, so first we're gonna go on tour and in Belgium and the Netherlands, and that'll be in February and March of 2020. I guess we're in 2020, so I can stop saying the year now, but it'll be in just a few weeks. We're gonna go venture off on our very first tour, and I've started writing just a little bit more. For a while, the muse kind of went away. It's a tough thing in today's music world because nobody tells you that not only are you the songwriter and the band leader and all that, but you're also your own booking agent and your own manager and your own graphic designer and your own publisher and your own poster maker and your own everything. And so I think I've just had to have my, you wear a lot of hats in the business world, not just on stage. I mean, like a proverbial hat. And so I think I need to take the businesswoman hat off for a little while in order for songs to arrive. It's hard for me because I'm one of those writers that songs arrive like a train, and if I don't receive it right then and there, it's just gone forever. It takes off, and I don't get to have that song anymore. And most of the time, my songs come at me whole. So if I'm not able to write it, then just too bad, and that means somebody else got my song. So for a while, I've just been kind of resting and recovering, and I actually just wrote a song yesterday, so I guess I'm just right back at it now. But I definitely would love to see a Jackalope record happen just sooner rather than later, because I, of all people, understand that we only get so much time to do this. So I want to do as much as I can, as great as I can, but as fast as I can. So. Yeah.
Cool. Now, your parents' memoirs were published in 2018 in a book and audio documentary by Bob Harris. Do you plan to put your own memoirs out one time? Or,
yeah.
How's that going to work?
Yeah, actually, so...
Probably 2 volumes.
Yeah, it's a lot of volumes. There's a lot of... I've had a rich childhood and already had a really rich, blessed life in just a short amount of time. So, yeah, the way I kind of am doing it now, I'm working on a podcast where I hang out with, play songs with people who grew up like me. So my version of having a memoir, rather, at this moment is just talking and having a conversation, and because we are part of that history as well in music. Like, I have moments where I remember being backstage and watching Willie, accomplish something, or watching my parents accomplish something, or whatever the case may be. And so we have all these cool stories that music history doesn't know yet. And so I'm trying to get all of those down verbally as much as I can at the moment. But yeah, I know now to save your stuff, because someday the Country Music Hall of Fame is going to come wanting it. And I don't plan to have children, but I do have nieces and nephews, so I hope that they will do the same kindness for me someday. And I don't have ambitions on being a famous person, because that's not what we're here for. But I do know that what we do as a band and the music that we do play, that's ripples in the water. I know that anything that we do affects somebody's life. And especially if I can affect somebody's life with songs like The Alchemist, because everybody's grieving, right? Everybody has lost someone, or is grieving someone or something. So, yeah, hopefully I'll have made just enough of a difference that I can warrant a memoir or a little hat in the Country Music Hall of Fame or something,
Okay, cool. Let's get to another one, which is, again, sad.
Yeah, we'll do Sad and Lonely.
Okay.
This one's on the record. This one's silly and fun, just a country song.
1, 2, 3.
I came home last night to find you gone. You stayed out with her until the dawn. I think it's time for us to move on. Well, I'm not bad, it's just the way I'm drawn. Well, now I could give us one more chance. How bad could it be? Take your hand for one last dance, but then you'd be leading me. I don't wanna be just
Thanks for that hand
appreciate that. Yeah. I'll steer this ship.
Funny thing about these songs is they don't actually sound sad and lonely, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm a big fan of irony, you know.
Absolutely. Now, you pretty much know every famous person in Texas which is in the music business. Is there anybody you still would like to share the stage with?
Oh, yeah, actually there are some contemporaries that I would really, really, really love to share the stage with. I think Leon Bridges, if anybody knows Leon, man, he is doing such cool stuff. And I think that he found a really great way to take a retro love like I have and turn it into something new and magical and wonderful. And I feel the same way about J.D. McPherson as well. I really, really, really admire him, and I admire what he's done, kind of giving vintage music a push into the limelight a little bit. And then, you know, there are also some women that I hold really, really near and dear to my heart. I do wish that I could share the stage with Wanda Jackson in whatever way possible, because she's so important to us for country, but also for rockabilly and rock and roll. We don't really have the vocals like I do them sometimes without Wanda Jackson, or so she's definitely a big one for me. You know, on the other side of things, Tony Bennett is someone that I really wish that I could share the stage with. As you know, there are so many that I wish I could hold on to just for a moment before they're gone, like Tony, and like Wanda as well.
Too,
But yeah, I think those are the main people that come to mind. But at the end of the day, I just know that I'm blessed to have shared the stage with the people that I have gotten to, with Willie and Delbert McClinton and Beth Nielsen Chapman and just all these greats. Like, what more could you want? It's hard for me to answer that, I think, at the end of the day, because I've already had so much, you know.
Already a lot of them, yep.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, let's go to another one. Which
Okay.
is-
Where's
Where's your crown?
Yeah, my crown. My crown lives in my heart. The next song is called Crown to Wear. That's why we're... yeah, I wrote this one when, again, speaking personally, whenever all my friends got a little bit worried about me after my husband passed away and suddenly I was in a single pool and I definitely thought I was not going to be. They warned me about this thing called ghosting. Which I think is a really strange phenomenon now, where I guess in the dating world people will be dating and then somebody will just disappear on them all of a sudden. They just block them from their phone. You never hear from them again. They totally just go away. And I guess it happens to people at the beginning of dating, and sometimes in the middle of it they'll think they're in a relationship with somebody and they're not. And I had never heard of such a thing, and I'm astounded by it. And I just thought, like, man, that takes no cojones, does it? Like, that's the wimpiest thing I've ever heard in my life. You got to be accountable. You got to tell somebody, you know, hey, it's all right to say it's not going to work out. It's okay to say you found somebody else. I mean, it's not, it hurts, but it's I think that is a lot better than the alternative, which is this weird ghosting thing. And so, even though I have never experienced that in my life, I wanted to write it for people a little bit, to just go like, hey, I hear you, and I'm really sorry that's happening. So yeah, it's kind of a, you know, an empowered woman country song called Crown to Wear.
All right.
I gotta think about how it starts, though. Oh, got it. All right.
Similar to the last.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Well, you were a waste of my time. Stop calling without reason or rhyme. Well, a ghost ain't no friend of mine. Don't you worry, I'll get along just fine. Well, you were just a distraction, biding my time, not the main attraction. Took care of me, well, after a fashion. No big deal, I'll get my satisfaction. I don't know why I cared. I guess I was just lonesome and scared. You said I was a blessing and I've a crown to wear. So now I'm confessing you're not
All right, we're getting close to get off these uncomfortable chairs soon.
I'm all right. I'm comfy.
We got 2 more. Now, the usual thing before we get to the last song, and then next song, last question, last song is I ask these guys if they have any questions to you. So anybody?
Oh,
Well,
man.
it's here. Come on.
It's like when you're in school and the teacher asks.
Right.
Ain't no thing is a stupid question.
So you're touring Europe this next month. Have you done Europe before, or is this a new experience going to Europe?
So it's a new experience as a band, and it's, as the Jolie and the Jackalopes. But I've toured there a whole lot with my parents, actually. That's part of the guitar and bass case story is because I would go on the road with my parents. And, that was a little bit different times when you could bring your baby into a honky-tonk, But it was really neat because I got to go to Switzerland and France and Italy and Ireland and Scotland and go all over the world starting when I was a really, really, really small child. But that's why I would, I'd be backstage and I'd love it for a little while. And sometimes I could go on stage and sing with them once I got old enough. But then sometimes I'd get kind of tired and just go to sleep in the guitar case with my stuffed bunny and my book. And but it will be my first time to do this all together with my band, which is really cool because, when you admire your parents so much and then you finally get to do it.
What size is your full band?
So actually we just have a drummer and that's it. We like to have, normally we'll have a big sound using not a lot, but yeah, we're just.
We can tell that from here.
Yeah.
Of course, a guitar, that sounds like the back 40 or 50 years ago when they had the steel guitar.
That's the idea.
You can do it. I mean, thoroughly enjoy that.
Thank you very much.
That's great the way
Definitely.
You do that. I've never seen a bass quite that big.
Oh.
Or bass drum. Never mind. Bass player quite that big, but anyway.
Well, they started out as a violin, and I actually threw it in a bucket of water, and it just
Swell up.
expanded.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
same with
Can
me.
you
They
try?
threw me in a bucket of
Yeah,
water.
we also threw him in the bucket. We threw him in Lake Travis. Saw what happened.
Can you try the violin thing with this?
Put it on my chin. I definitely had my share of people recommend that I do that. No, but I do put it behind my head.
He does. He puts it.
Throws it up in the
He
air.
also tosses it up in the air.
Your
We like a level of
chiropractic is
danger.
probably not happy about it.
You were awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Yeah, this is Dylan Cavalier, y'all.
And the guitar player.
This is Sean
right.
Shirazi over here on the guitar.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, when I started Jolie and the Jackalopes, Dylan was my very first phone call, and that's because he used to play with a band in Austin called Chad Thomas and the Crazy Kings. And so, though I had grown up on the road going, into honky-tonks as a little kid and festivals and all that, once I got to a certain age, though, in Austin, and I wanted to go see shows on my own, I was not old enough yet. And luckily, Dylan and Chad Thomas and those guys would let me carry their instruments in, or one of them actually would pick me up over his shoulder and just carry me in and tell the door guy, she's fine, it's good. And so when I started Jolie and the Jackalopes, I knew that my first call had to be Dylan because he was a big part in actually the other side of me that wanted to start playing music that had nothing to do with my childhood, but just wanted to go have fun and see a guy throw a stand-up bass around and look at cool hot rods and indulge in like a 1950s lifestyle. So yeah,
Right.
Dylan's quite special to me in the Jackalope world.
And you and me.
All right. Okay, let's get to another one then.
Okay. Winter Wind, is that okay? Are we good on it?
A little shaky on that. We're good.
Are we on?
We do. No, we're good.
We can do it? All right, good. Sean is new with us, so I just want to make sure he's comfy and happy. And, I like to take care of my superficial rabbits. All right. This song is it's called Winter Wind. It's one that I wrote. It's my thank you letter to people that took really tremendous care of me when I needed it the most. I had an endless stream of flowers and food and people taking me out two-stepping and just making sure that I was in. I never had to be alone. I never went one day without a phone call. never went one day without texts and love. And so I just thought, well, I mean, how do you write a thank you note to the world? How do you tell everybody thank you at once? And I mean, duh, it's a song when you're a songwriter. So, you know, this song's called Winter Wind. We're going to careen our way through it. I think we'll be all right. This is kind of new for us here. This one's not on the record. This is going to be fun. We're going to go for it. All wrapped up in you, all tangled, just we two. I could have stayed forever with the morning coming through. Leave my suitcase by the door, leave my satchel on the floor. I didn't know I'd have someone to miss. A pretty bird, I'd go out on a limb. I may be an oak tree, but for you I would bend. And I've gotta say goodbye to you, but in the end, you sheltered me from that cold winter wind. Well, I got lost in you, in trusty eyes of blue. I should have known better. I had tornadoes to get through, kitchen dancing in your arms, conquered the world and the storms. With a broken heart I never meant to give. A pretty bird, I'd go out on a limb. I may be an oak tree, but for you I would bend. And I've gotta say goodbye to you, but in the end, you sheltered me from that cold winter wind. A pretty bird, I'd go out on a limb. I may be an oak tree, but for you I would bend. And I've gotta say goodbye to you, but in the end, you sheltered me from that cold winter wind. You sheltered me from that cold winter wind. Thanks, y'all.
All right, we're down to the last question, and these guys already know what's it going to be because it's always the same, which
Okay.
is, what question would you ask yourself in an interview that I did not?
Ooh, wow, okay. I ought to be able to answer this since I've been doing all the podcast stuff. I've been rather practiced in it. But you asked the question that I ask everybody at the end already, pretty much. I always ask somebody, actually, we'll go there. Yeah. I always ask, how do you define success for yourself? Which is a little along the lines of you asking, you know, how do you define
Right.
yourself independently of that legacy? But further on to it with success, I always love to ask everybody at the end of my interview, how do you define success for you? And for me, my own answer to my own question is joy. And that's because joy exists even when there's darkness. If I can say yes in the dark, then I know I'm successful. And so that means if I made one person feel better today, if I made one person feel worse but not as alone today, then I know that I have succeeded. And so, you know, if I can bring joy to my jackalopes, if I can bring joy to you, if I can bring joy to audiences in Belgium and the Netherlands, at the end of the day, the word for me is just joy, because that exists no matter how broken you are.
Right. Pretty good. All right. So we have a kind of a closing song.
Yeah, we're gonna do Creature Undercover. This song's also known as Gator. But yeah, this is a good rockin' one. This will be really fun. I wrote this song, Creature Undercover, about watching out for those gators there in the swamplands. No matter how cool they look, no matter how good they look, doesn't mean they're gonna treat you right.
And they're fast.
Huh?
And they're fast.
And they're fast. and their teeth are sharp. You know, you got to watch out for them gators. So you sound experienced over there with the gators. Anyway, yeah, we'll send you off with something about make sure and take care of yourself and your heart. All right.
All right.
Well, I tell you, girls, don't believe what them Bayou boys say. They tell you pretty stories, talk to you about someday. But to him you ain't real, just a good guy game to play. Don't you give that swamp thing the chance to act like a man. He's just pretending to see if he belongs on dry land. Swim, swim, little darling, swim away just as fast as you can. Well, a gator ain't no lover, he's a creature undercover at the kiss and he's sure to bite. A gator ain't no lover, he's a cheating low-down mother, watch him for them sparkly eyes. A gator ain't no lover, he's a creature undercover at the kiss and he's sure to bite. Heartbreaking swamplands, ain't a man, he's a gator disguised. He's a gator disguised. Now don't he look good in his finest suit and tie? His hat's cocked, rings on guard, his shoes all shined. That's just fall in love voodoo, make love, then they'll eat you alive. Don't give that swamp thing the chance to act like a man. He's just pretending to see if he belongs on dry land. Swim, swim, little darling, swim away just as fast as you can. Well, a gator ain't no lover, he's a creature undercover at the kiss and he's sure to bite. A gator ain't no lover, he's a cheating low-down mother, watch him for them sparkly eyes. A gator ain't no lover, he's a creature undercover at the kiss and he's sure to bite. Heartbreaking swamplands, ain't a man, he's a gator disguise. He's a gator disguise. All right. All right, so this is the part in this song. Normally everybody is swing dancing, so we'll just pretend y'all are all swing dancing here today, where I make sure that I take care of my audience for a minute. So I want to take care of you, Bruno. I want to take care of all you fine people, and just make sure before we get all raucous and rowdy again, before the room goes crazy, before y'all, tear things down from the walls. Just kidding. Before you start throwing light bulbs and chairs and stuff. I do want to make sure that everybody here knows to take good care of yourself. Make sure you're with somebody who will do stuff like open the door, maybe. Oh, I don't know, maybe that's not enough. Make sure you're hanging out with somebody who calls you sugar and sweetie and honey pie and they mean it. I want to make sure that you're with somebody who brings you joy at the end of the day, because that's what it's all about, right, folks? Yeah, that's what it's about, right, folks?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's about, right, folks? Yeah.
And real flowers.
Well, a gator ain't no lover, he's a creature undercover at the kiss and he's sure to bite. A gator ain't no lover, he's a cheating low-down mother, watch him for them sparkly eyes. A gator ain't no lover, he's a creature undercover at the kiss and he's sure to bite. Heartbreaking swamplands, ain't a man, he's a gator disguise. He's a gator disguise. He's a gator disguised. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much, y'all. You're great. Thanks for playing along.
Jolie and the Checkalopes, ladies and gentlemen. Great.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate
Thank you.
you for having
Appreciate
us.
it.